Hey there, how's it going? What is up, everybody? Irish Orangutan is back to pass along the knowledge to make the most of your Madden team. Hey there, how's it going? What's up, everybody? Most Feared is live today. The first thing that I do want to go through are some of the prices over the new cards and just getting in and seeing where everything is kind of sitting. The reroll was kicking out some mighty fine cards earlier today. We were able to get on that. Had to run an errand, wasn't going to make it back by 10:30 Eastern, but thankfully was able to get on and be here right as things turned over and was able to get some of these cards priced up and sold decently. So just looking here, we have Mostert. I was saying Clement before, I think, in the past, but yeah, Cole Kmet, and we have Josh Allen and Matt Milano up here, all between 32,000. I was fortunate enough to get a 90 overall. So just wanted to go in and see where these guys were at. Was able to pull quite a few of these 85s as well. A lot more 81s and 83s, to be honest. And sadly the 83s have dipped. Something I do want to check and see how much I could potentially sell them for instead of potentially buying them for before going back to the binder and getting some of these guys listed up. So looking here, the market absolutely has corrected itself and gotten all of these 79, 78s down a little bit lower. These guys were listed up around 10,000 right at the market turnover. That is something that I do my best to take advantage of when there are new promos and things of that nature. Looking at these 83s, sadly they very much have dipped as well. I got some of these guys sold, but my 83s and 81s, I may have taken a little bit of bath on them, so that is going to be a little bit rough. I don't see any 81s in between here, which is a little bit strange. Something of note, if you are looking at this or are not as familiar, they just show the 100 cars that are finishing last here. So for some strange reason, excuse me, no 81s did pop up over here. It was just skipped from 79 to 83. So we'll go down a little bit further. Taylor Heineke here, just under. Some of those actually might be mine, to be honest. So for some reason, the 81s are popping up higher than the 83s. The 81 plus pack and 78 plus pack, I'm just trying to think through this and think why 83s wouldn't be as needed as the 81s would be and why those would be listed last. So I'm gonna go look at some of the sets. Have been on since 10:30. Was on listening to ScoMo and then got Fox, and yeah, just absolutely love both of their streams, so definitely would recommend listening to them. I'm usually off times when they are not, but with today being a promo day, everyone's kind of being on as long as they can because yeah, today's absolutely awesome day to be playing. Yeah, didn't really get into exactly what we would be doing here, but I'm going to be looking through and trying to get Derrick Henry. Not necessarily trying, going to be getting him and actually move Jesse Bates up my want list and move Charles Woodson off. So I'm going to be getting rid of some of the players that are getting along in the tooth and picking up some new players, going in and doing some of these exchange sets. So I was looking for why 83s would be less wanted than some of these 81s. And 81 pops up in almost all of these sets, and 83s are probably less needed, I guess, is the reason for that. So we might be able to take advantage of that and list our 81s first while there's more of a want or need for them. and hopefully those things sell quickly. I'm going to be checking over here as hopefully things don't slow up. Perfect. I think, yeah, y'all just have the 20-second delay, but I think it is actually keeping up with what I am hoping to do. Patrick Surtain, one of my favorite players on my team, is actually going to be one of these players that we are going to be downgrading. He's been a tremendous asset. If you don't have an abundance of coins, I would definitely recommend going out and getting him, especially if you play zone. If you're going more of a man, he's not going to have the speed to necessarily keep up with the top end cornerbacks that are out there, so that is why he is sadly going down. I'm going to try to be running, I think Acrobat will kick back here at some point. I'm going to make sure that it does, probably when I would have dropped below 85 overall, because I believe that's when that second training slot is there. But just double checking, making sure we get everything back we are due. And yeah, with this excess training we will be getting, we're going to go and try that reroll real quick with you all and see if we are able to get anything profitable there. And things do seem to be less profitable, sadly, at this point in time. Now that I've gotten him all the way down, I could potentially, and I'm going to sell this, hopefully at a decent price. We do know these, hopefully, 81s can sell closer to 9,000, but yeah, I think we're going to go low and go around 79. Man, so this isn't, to be honest, that much of a loss, especially if they're going to be able to sell at this amount. With me being able to get out from underneath my 78s and 79s when those were going for a little bit more, that's very helpful. But for the majority of them, I did have to sell them below 4,000, and that is pretty much halving my coins, so that's a little bit of a bummer. You can see right now 139 of these James are going to be up. I'm Irish, so I'm really sad I'm not able to say his last name a little bit better than I'm not going to attempt as I did previously. So all of these cards aren't going to necessarily be up, so if people just look for 81s, hopefully that one will at some point be at the bottom and be able to be sold. If you sell them together like this, that sometimes allows a group of them to get up and allow to be able to all at the bottom at the same time, and then hopefully all of the cards can sell at the same time, so you're able to get in and just do this in a little bit of a grouping. It is tedious to go in and do this frequently, so I do completely understand that. I don't think my Heineke sold that we did have up. Those were listed probably 10 to 12, maybe even 16,000, maybe being hopeful at the beginning of promos. People really want cards and go crazy trying to purchase them, so just hoping to be able to cash in on some of that hysteria. I'm really excited about what has came with this promo, to be perfectly honest. This has the most that I'll probably be able to do, and to be honest, even if I'd be on all day for the next couple of days, which I'm not going to be necessarily, I wouldn't be able to get it all done probably, so they've done a tremendous job of really just putting everything out there that you really want. For house rules, that is something that it is going to take you a while since they are full games. Hopefully people will get in and out of them, and once they get down by a certain amount that they know they aren't going to be able to win, they will just kind of give in and allow you to move on to the next game. Clicked on the wrong one there real quick. Hopefully Durham Wynn gets a really, really solid card in this promo, but it hasn't happened quite yet. I am contemplating powering up Jeremy Shin as well. Jesse Bates is going to be one of my cornerbacks, or Yeah, since he does have man, he's probably not going to move back to free safety since Sean Taylor does have zone. And even if I were running a lot of man, I'd either be on that player or have him in zone yet. So that allows him to play to his strengths and just stop everything that could potentially go bad if something does get behind him. As you can see, even as I'm going through these 81 cards, maybe it's the want for particular cards, but it seemingly has gone down from 74 to potentially 7,000. So with these last guys, I'm going to be a little bit less hopeful and go for 7,900, and hopefully they're able to sell, but nothing's a promise at this point. Was able to get training around 18, 17-ish, so buying these cards for 425. We can do the actual math, so I'm not lying. I'm able to still kind of scrape out a profit, especially if they're starting or continuing to sell what I'm going to be listing them at now. If they go down another couple thousand from there, then I'll obviously be taking a wash. Something I should have checked on, and why these 81s may be listed higher than the others, is that they go into the 81 plus set. So something that we had done and talked about with the last Gridiron Guardians promo was putting in 81s just back into that set and rolling itself, since they were already the cheapest one to potentially acquire. So maybe those are already the lowest 80s, so that is something I just want to check, just the 80 market bear. There are some considerably lower still. Some people are doing the just 80, not 80 plus set in the sets with 79s and 70s for these 80 overalls. That's still a very, very solid set with cards not necessarily popping out packs, but more cards for the particular promo just coming from training rerolls. There will be a lot less cards coming out in that area. The time that those Campus Heroes were most profitable was during the time when we were trying to put together Team Diamonds, and during that time a lot of people were pulling packs because silvers and golds were so profitable, so that's why so many of those were on the market. So there are kind of minimums and maximums that you want to look for in those cases, and sadly there were not any super positives there when we were looking. I may just be missing it, but I looked for it earlier as well, and I'm not 100% it's here. Oh, yep, I apologize, it's just at the bottom. There is one glare here, and sadly that was the one spot that it did hit. We do have quite a few of these 83s, a couple 85s yet to sell. Hopefully at some point they're just a little bit better profit. I did think a few more of these sold off, or I did get out from underneath of all of them, to be honest, and maybe had 2 left, but sadly I do have 5. Did pull 15,000 training worth, did get 190, sadly no limiteds, but those are coming out of those packs as well, so that is something to keep in mind. 6,900 is the bare minimum for these. So yeah, I guess I'm just going to try to be hopeful and just list 81s at 7,900 at this point. There's really no specific thing out there that told me that that will actually sell at that point, just kind of from previous knowledge about how things kind of come to the bottom of those price ranges, just kind of hoping that that will happen. So these guys right at 3,000, to be honest, is probably going to be their max price, and that's kind of what we had seen and kind of have noticed as well. I think those were listed at 4,200, at least the ones that did not sell. We're going to re-roll and hopefully get some 90s, but if we are not able to get any 90s, maybe use the 85s and 87s to potentially bolster up to get them through one of the sets, but we'll look at the prices of everything before we do that. At this point, I would assume that the pieces are actually worth more than the 90, but I would have to look at that since the 90s are going into the 92 sets, and a lot of people are wanting to do those to get some of the best players in the game, pretty much at every position. Strong safety, I don't think that Ed Reed card is quite as good as it possibly could have been, and to be honest, that's why I think they put him at right outside linebacker to make him unique, because he isn't Larry Allen. Oh my goodness. Derrick Henry, of course, excuse me, and Jesse Bates are all the best at their position, and I don't think it's even close, sad to Sean Taylor, but he just doesn't have man, and Jesse Bates and him pretty much have everything else on the nose. Having the theme team, sadly, the ultimate kickoff boost was taken away, so one less speed for Sean there, so a little bit of a downer, but we do have most of what we need put together on our defensive backfield, and we'll fill it out with Jesse Bates here in the near future. But yeah, with that, Ed Reed just sadly is not exactly what we need there. Just doesn't have the height, not quite tall enough, things along those lines. In the box stats aren't perfect, even though he's a run stopping right outside linebacker or strong safety, so it kind of makes that even more confusing. They bolster stats in weird spots like Shaq Mason's pass blocking stats compared to how good he is as a run blocker, which he's absolutely near perfect at that, like Brandon Sheriff. So it's a little confusing why they didn't just bolster the right outside linebacker Ed Reed and just differentiate the two or make them a little bit more unique in that way also. As we saw, the 83s weren't worth much more. Wow. One sold for $5,000. That actually would have been a really nice card to try to pick up and resell. Looks like we froze here real quick. Sadly, they don't have a slightly longer beard for me. Alright, we are back. Defense got rid of Surtain, so sadly we're back down to 90 overall. Playing some people out of position, we may actually be at 90 overall for a while. The offense will be bolstered up here in a short while once we get Larry and Derrick Henry on the squad. As I was noting, as things were getting back up and running after freezing from getting things listed, we are 200 cred short, so we'll have to go through more of the solos or maybe pass just a little bit more in some head-to-head games to potentially get what we need to finish up, and not in this one, in the exchange sets, excuse me. We were looking at this before getting on, but sadly still did not remember. But we were able to get a 90 overall NCAT, and got you. Exchange 4 most feared objective pass collectibles to earn your choice of the 90 overall NCAT most feared hero, 1 of 4 auction collectible boneyard uniforms, and a collectible that can be redeemed for a 90 overall most feared hero after the final release. That's awesome. So you'll get one of the 90 overalls from the second and third release as well. That was one of the 90s that I sadly was not clear on yesterday, so Happy was able to clarify that for myself and you all as well. The 2s and 3s will be hopefully a nice wide receiver and a solid quarterback coming out. Derek Carr sadly does not get Hot Route Master. 4 more players to get listed up, and then we will move on and see what else we can potentially get on the market. I'm going to list, but give my voice just a second and look over a couple things. Okay, something of note. At the price that I was selling them, it still would be reasonable to sell 83s, but they are still getting close to the bare minimum of what you would potentially want to re-roll for training. So we are maybe going to stop there on that just for a moment. May want to keep those 85s to see if we can get a couple of 87s as well, but those are definitely in the sell range also. So we did go through quick sell, Certain. Charles Woodson is also someone that I thought was going to be moving on to the team, but I'm able to potentially acquire two different players that are better than him when I was comparing him and Jeremy Chin as well. Man isn't something that I run extensively. If it were, sadly, there's a lot of training that I'm losing right here because I was very, very excited about Charles Woodson, but should have waited just a little bit to power him up. It actually hurts that I'm going to get half the rolls that I would have out of powering him down. And training was worth a little bit more when I had purchased him as well. So Charles Woodson at defensive tackle, we have Buckner, who we had acquired and was kind of being in a holding spot until I believe, or at least I was looking to put inside stuff on him, and I was hoping that would be a little bit less than what it was, but since he is a speed rusher, it was not worth it. So sadly, he's not a perfect fit. Going to be getting Jonathan Allen as one of the end cats, so that's going to be taking that spot. Going to need a little bit of training left over to power him up, but may not do that right away as that's not going to be a priority, and I'm not going to be using any abilities on him, to my knowledge anyway. A little bit less of one, but someone that I am going to acquire as well, I decided, was Leighton Vander Esch. He actually played really well in the few solos that I had. I know that's not a great reason, but that is something to potentially think about when you're playing through. If players just play well for you, it might not be for any particular reason, but just the play style that you have. So that may be a reason to acquire a player just because he fits well for your team. I did not think Derrick Henry would be perfect for me, to be perfectly honest, until I played with him this year, and I gladfully was proven wrong with that. Henry is not perfect, but he is a slow and poor version of Wycheck, so just keeping him around for emergency situations. I'm going to be looking for another fullback / tight end. Hopefully, it would be awesome if they brought out a nasty Gronkowski, and he would fit really, really well into what I am running. Diablo was another player that I was contemplating quick selling. I'm going to look through my safeties again real quick. Again, going to be picking up Chin straight away as one of my end cats. And Shaq Mason is someone I really want as well. But to be honest, he's going to be a backup as soon as I get Larry Allen. So I think the three end cats at this point, I'll probably change my mind as we're getting Derrick Henry. But our Jeremy Chin, Larry Allen, and Leighton Vander Esch. And I'm getting two Cowboys and one Washington player to kind of cancel that out eventually, I guess. But I'm just getting two at this time. Wanted to look at my defensive backs. Isaiah Simmons also makes this a little bit easier. And to be honest, I think I had decided earlier to get rid of Diablo because, not Swearinger, because Isaiah Simmons and Vander Esch, actually. I'm going to have those players that play in the box, and I'm going to have Jamal Adams play in... Do we have it? Yeah, excuse me. It was right under my nose. taking Diablo's spot. He's very similar, a little bit shorter. I believe he's going to be able to play on his own quite a bit better, especially if I just keep him in zone. Sadly, those players that came out for Gridiron Guardians weren't better because I absolutely adore their card art. So I saw Tre'Davious White in a couple games against me recently, and I absolutely loved it. And sadly, we're going to see even less of him as faster cards come out, since him and Gilmore, I believe, were right around the 87, 88 speed range. So that is just kind of a bummer. It is really hard to get rid of this Diablo, to be honest. He's done a lot of great things for me. 7 interceptions against the CPU, 30 in head-to-head. Oh my goodness, 32 interceptions in head-to-head. I'm going to have to look at what Chancellor has, because if Diablo has more, I think I just may have to keep that particular card on my team. I know he has significant value, but I guess it is only the 89 as well. I never even powered him up. Chancellor does have 5 more, but Chancellor is significantly better too. Wow. $3,000. I don't know. I think I'm going to keep him on the team for now. He's just going to be a backup at this point. He's not even going to fit out the strong safety position, but yeah. Just remembered some of the games that I was able to play with him. Again, looking at those 83s, I think I'm just going to go back and quick sell them so we have a little bit more training to go through when we are doing this. And really, really hoping to be able to get at least 190 out of this, at least. If we're able to get a limited, that would be excellent as well. This isn't quite as good as I had hoped and as most promos kind of have been previously, to be honest, with these rerolls. To be honest, usually right away you can sell these cards off at a little bit higher profit, but wasn't perfect, but it wasn't terrible either. I'm taking just pretty much a straight loss, getting those 83s and just quick selling them. About 100 per roll, but just hopefully the gains that we are able to get kind of outmatch that, is kind of where we're hopefully heading with that. Because was able to get Van Der Esch already out of the reroll, so just kind of where we are at this point. Do have the coins to go out and get Jesse Bates and Henry just off the market, but hopefully we're able to sell some of the things in our binder, and yeah, hopefully we're able to get a little bit more here as well. If you are going to get these over and over again, definitely go to training, and it does make it a little bit easier for you. 81. So hopefully we're able to sell those. Looked at the market yesterday at 7,500, so hopefully that's the bare minimum for those, but as we saw, it seemingly crept down to 7,000. That is a loss and a half. Didn't mean to hit B, but maybe will bring us some luck, so maybe it wasn't the worst thing in the world. If you're wanting to put coins into the game, there are quite a few packs you can do that with as well. Definitely check this guy out. I believe that'll come with every release, so that is rather significant, and that does go all the way up to 92 overall. Get a player pack, sadly, just not the profit that it has been in the past, especially with better cards continuing to come out. It really starts to lose some of its significance. Pulled a lot of 80s consistently out of this. If we are just getting 78s and 79s, this will be a significant loss. It seems like every time this reroll comes out for the first hour, it's just a little bit better than it is the rest of the time. I don't know what that is, if they just want us to go out and tell everyone else that this is working really, really well, and then by the time the word gets out, it's really not as good as it was. 85, that one's very, very solid. That saves us quite a bit, but... So, I'm going to look at that real quick, because I don't want to tell you wrong either. So, want to tell you how much each of these rerolls is costing us. So, 425, and we were buying training at about 17. So, 7,200 per roll. Again, all this training was already in our binder, technically in players, so hopefully we aren't using our old players and players that we maybe could have probably not used after this, at least the advancements to the team, but were great fits, at least for their time. I kind of wish I would have powered up Diablo, because I could have... I don't know if they're going to give him another card, to be honest, as there's a lot of other cards that deserve probably more love than him at this point, since he already does have that card for what he is doing in the NFL, but sadly not doing great with these rolls. Hopefully we're able to get a 90 at some point in time. Not seeing a lot of difference in animations. Have seen the limited, not in my own packs, animation, and it does look magnificent. And sadly, it's not looking anything like that. Do have about 12 of these left to go. Hopefully we're able to get a little bit more luck out of these. These are pretty much the packs that I do pull if I do pull packs, so just throwing that out there as well. So we're needing to get 85s to pretty much profit at this point in time. It's kind of been, thankfully we're able to get another one there. So if you pull a 78 or a 79, you half out your coins. If you get an 81, 87, that's huge. I think that's our first 87, I'm almost certain. Maybe we sold one straight away, but I think that was our actually first 87, so that one was huge. If you get an 81 or an 83, they pretty much have the same value, seemingly around the 7,000. Hopefully you're able to sell it around 75 to 7,900, but I think that may have been something that is now gone at this point in the day. So you're losing a couple hundred when you roll those. We'll go through and double check training at some point in time to make sure everything this is up to date, but even looking through those 83s and 85s when we were potentially going to sell them, that's why I didn't sell the 85s either, because I do want to double check. I think we can sell those for a little bit more than training, but if you go through and snipe 83s, I think you can get training even less than what I was purchasing it yesterday. Which is kind of nice and remarkable. A lot of people are going to have that Derrick Henry. Nice. Josh Allen there, not the quarterback, but the defensive end. 87s are 1,500 training. We'll have to double check and see what those are selling for. May have to keep one of those Heineke's, but sadly just not going to make the field. Just might be fun to play through with solos, especially with boosted speed. Now that I'm saying that, that might actually be a lot of fun. Running around with 94 speed? No. We'll have to double check that. I think he's 84 speed, and you can get plus 10 speed with the first 5 or 6 solos that you play. Sadly, you can only play with that in solos, but it's still fun to mess around with. We're going to be just shy on training for 3. Excuse me, no we won't. We'll have just enough for 3. I was thinking 450, and that's what I said, lose just 100. You lose just under 100 training for 83s. So that is why it is kind of critical to try to sell those, excuse me, to quick sell those, and sadly they are a loss, but they were hopefully being able to sell earlier in the day. And finish on a down note, sadly. So just want to go through and look at the last of our polls and see what all that training was able to get us. Definitely not going to do this, but just going to do this to see if we are potentially close on. So we would have lost out on training by just a scratch as well, which is about fair and about the way that that should work. And we didn't hit anything big, sadly, in the 90 range, but we are going to be able to use some of those 87s and 85s if it maps out to get one of those 90s for ourselves. So we're just going to have to piece together our 90s instead of being able to get them all together. Was looking at potentially what the set cost versus just purchasing these players on the market would be, and the 92s seem to be around 200,000 to 210 with excuse me, wrong side again, with the higher end being Ed Reed and Derrick Henry. Again, it doesn't necessarily matter which of these we would want to get. 287s and 385s. So we'll go back and double check and see where the top end of the market is. Was looking at the bottom end of the market, trying to better understand exactly what we're able to sell things for. Now we're going to look and see what we can buy things for. Hopefully that speaker button works like right on the button. Yeah, Jesse Bates right there at 200,000. That actually might be the Jesse Bates that we get if we aren't too slow. Of course. Did hesitate just wanting to look and see what the price was at, but that was probably going to be our card if we were a little bit quicker there. We do already have... I was just trying to math this out in my head, and I was trying to see if we could get all of these cards. And if we do use all of our low cards, we could potentially build up and actually get Jesse Bates and Larry Allen now. We may have to go back and redo training, but yeah, just going here and being able to snipe out these cards at 200,000, that's probably where training's at as well. Right at 20, so this actually is above training, but these are the best players at their position, so that does make a little bit of sense. Ed Reed here down to 250, King Henry hovering right around 280, understandably so. King Henry's set is actually a little bit profitable at this point. The other ones are not. Ed Reed is close. If you quick sell the training and put back in, but with the market crashing kind of around everything else, it sadly is not worth it at this point. Let's see where we're at with the 90s. We may just look at offense then defense first. Offensive players seemingly are more wanted. That's kind of strange. I would have thought that'd be the other way around. At least with chin anyway. Those seem to be at 110. Which is exactly where we were yesterday as well. So the market has not changed. It's really stayed equal. And there's a lot of new things happening. It's crazy how well they have done at keeping things even, to be honest. The people they have in charge of that are, to be honest, there weren't a lot of bugs that I have noticed so far just looking through this. Sadly, there was their one crash. Sadly, when we first were looking through prices and listing things up, but that happens when things get too warm sometimes, so can't necessarily blame that on this promo. So I need to look at the 87s and 85s. We're looking at 110 total. $27s for 80. That is not ideal for me pulling at this point. Sadly, those have lost value as well. And 20. So that's exactly the same price. So if you times that by 3, you get 60, and if you times 87 times 2 is at 25, so it's like 110, 114, so it's right there. So I'm going to use my 87s and 85s to build one, and I'm going to purchase the cheapest 90 we can find. To be honest, it's hard to recommend the app as it sometimes is not ideal user face wise, but you are able to get cheaper snipes often because for some reason it just works faster. No matter what you try to do, it just works. Ooh, come on, that would be really awesome, but there's no way we're gonna be able to get that. Like I'm saying, if I would have been the app, that would have been hours because for some reason fingers just move faster over there, or things just load up in the correct way. May actually load up over there and see if we can get a snipe. This 20,000 would have been worth it, to be honest. So we'll see if we can load up over there at the same time. Don't have internet on that, and my phone's about to die, so it's probably not going to work either. So may just have to bite a bullet and go down and take it at 110, 112 if one pops up in that range. 113, I mean, it's 2,000 coins, but still, in principle, it's too expensive. You could have got one for 93. Sorry if things dim out over there. We're adding one more thing to internet for just a second. I am actually going to just purchase that over there. It is the Madden 22 mobile app, and that is the best place to go over and get those. Snipes just work a little bit better over there. Go to the right spot this time. It's kind of awesome how everything has kind of found its place and kind of where it was yesterday, and everyone kind of expected what was coming, and it just happened, and everything's already corrected itself. I'm sure I won't see anything below 115 now. The better way of doing that may be to snipe 287s. So we see Jonathan Allen here. I believe we're going to get the power up as well from that. Yes, we do. Look at his stats real quick while I'm trying to snipe over here. I think everyone's trying to do the exact same thing at the same time because everything rose right as I was looking at it. Wish his block shedding was a little higher and he would be about perfect. Those 90s are absolutely the most desired card in the game. Just lost out on a 110. Alright, there we go. Go down to his defensive stats. So as long as you don't put him in zone, he's near perfect, just a little bit slow, sadly. And his block shed isn't quite at 90. He's going to fit well, though. We'll get him powered up soon enough. So we're going to back out, and the card, as you can see, the coins go down, and card comes up. We're left with 300,000 coins. We're going to do our best to maneuver those into Jesse Bates and Larry Allen into the near future. Hopefully we're able to sell off our lower end cards, and we'll continue to monitor where the market is and potentially sell some of those things off as well. Again, going in here, it is time to get King Henry. We have already put in a Leighton Vander Esch. We put in 87s and 85s to get our Jonathan Allen. We, thinking through this a little bit more, going to be a little bit slower with Jonathan, excuse me, with Jesse Bates and Larry Allen, not Jonathan Allen. All the Allens got me a little bit sideways. But as you acquire some of those cards going through this promo, they're not all going to be NCAT, so you're going to be able to use them in some of these sets as well. And we do have our king to our offense, our key to our offense, Derrick Henry. The laugh is absolutely awesome. Sadly, power-ups really have lost their value this year. I just absolutely adore that laugh, so I stopped to listen to it. I don't think it popped up for Shaq Mason. I really stopped to listen to it that time. But with power-ups not really working the way that they could, because every time there's one that could have an uptick in value, it comes out with the set as well, as we saw with that Derrick Henry and also Jonathan Allen a little bit before that. And the last laugh we'll hear for a while. Everyone has their particular cards they're going to want out of this. Just a quick ranking from least effective to most effective. Least effective to it, to be honest. He's just too slow. You're going to have to play him at the interior defensive line. Jonathan Allen, second least effective, to be honest, sadly, and I'm going to love him on my team. Corey Davis, solid run blocking, but still at 90 speed. At wide receiver, you're going to want more. Xavier Rhodes, these two guys are right in the same spot. Just a little bit below meta, but you're going to be able to fit them in if you boost them up just a little bit. Jeremy Chin is going to be higher up the list. Derek Carr, a solid quarterback that could come in and fit for your team. He's not going to get Hot Route Master since he didn't get to 90 awareness, but still a very solid card. Going Leighton Vander Esch next, and we have two players to look at after this. He's not going to be the perfect starting middle linebacker, but he can be a linebacker number 2 and play very well by himself. We're going to go Shaq Mason next. This is a player that can play on your offensive line for a very long period of time. They gave him bolstered passing stats, so he is just as effective in the pass and the run. And at number 1 for these first 90s that were released, Jeremy Chin is definitely number 1. He can be your starting cornerback or free safety, strong safety user. He just needs to be on your field. He is a little bit less than the Jesse Bates, but he's still a tremendous asset for your team. Jeremy Chin, Van Der Esch, and Allen. I was contemplating Chin's just too good, to be honest. Was thinking about Shaq Mason, and he may be someone that I acquire at a different point, but he's just not the fit for my team. Getting Larry Allen in the very near future. The last thing that I did want to quickly go over were these last 4 heroes. Quickly ranking them, I would definitely put Ed Reed last, to be perfectly honest. His price does not dictate that, but he's very flashy. The only reason they gave him right outside linebacker was because he was not better than the other 3 players, so that is where he is at. It is unique that he can be right outside linebacker or strong safety, but he's not going to be great at either, to be perfectly honest, unless you really want to run a 4-3. Larry Allen is next on my list. He can be your left guard until the end of the game. Pretty much. He's might be a little bit slow for that point, but there's going to be another Larry Allen card that you can just add him into that power up, and he's going to be perfect for you. Jesse Bates is second on my list. It is actually hard to put him second on my list. He's one of the best defenders on the field. With all of these wide receivers getting speed, he very easily could be number 1 if Derrick Henry did not come out. But the best halfback in the game did come out. If you are not someone who runs the ball ever, then Jesse Bates can be your number 1, but I like to run the ball at least 50% of the time if the defense does allow that, so that is definitely where I would go. That is what we have for today. Again, house rules are full game solos. Thankfully, one of our cards sold off. Sadly, it was one of the ones that was a little bit lower down, so we may not be getting the perfect profit on all of those cards. So we do have to go into head-to-head seasons. A little slow, but we're getting there. And out of options. I just about said out of position, and that would be a lot more fun. But this is another place to get one of those 90 end cats or an 85 plus overall auctional tradable player. 85 overall plus makes me think that that may be an 87 or a 90 as well, so that may be something to look at. As more people are getting to that mark, definitely something to keep in mind. But that's all we have for today. Thank you all so very much for stopping by. I wish you all. After the initial roundup of getting these players for most feared, I was able to get this Derrick Henry up to 94 overall. So that is very, very exciting to have that number 1 feature running back on my team. We don't have to split time between him and Deuce nearly as much. Henry's going to be in as much as I possibly can get him in the backfield. 94 with the boost that I do have. Don't have a Titans theme team or anything like that. We just do have a speed boost and I think juke, and along with a little bit of a boost with this on the move, ball carrier vision, spin move. May have to do that last little juke to get him up a little bit higher, and catch and speed. So we do have a little bit of extra speed on him as well, so he'll be able to act like he does in real life definitely the best player on my offense, and he was more or less before this, so it is just absolutely astounding what he is going to be able to do. Do have tank on him, can go get that activated real quick, have taken nasty streak off of the tackles, was going to put gunslinger back on Woodson, but now we have 13 and one more to play with, and we'll figure out what to do with that in the near future. Everything else pretty much was on the defensive side of the ball with the extra training that we do have after quick selling Patrick Surtain the second and putting Jeremy Chin in his spot. We do have enough to get him powered up or move on and try to get some other players via training. So that's what we have right now. That's what we're going to finish up with at this point in time. I wish you all the very best and take care during this most feared season.